The tornado capital of the world. Every spring and summer, the skies over the United States darken, the wind begins to swirl, and nature unleashes one of its most terrifying forces, the tornado. No other country comes close to the US in both number and intensity of tornadoes. Out of the roughly 1,200 tornadoes that form globally each year, more than 1,000 touch down in America alone. That's over 80% of the world's total. But why? Why here? Why does one nation experience so many of these violent storms? Today, we'll break down every major factor, from geography to weather patterns, that makes the United States the perfect stage for tornadoes. 1. Geography, the perfect storm factory. It all begins with geography. The US sits at a unique crossroads of air masses unlike anywhere else on Earth. To the north lies cold, dry Arctic air. To the south, warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. To the west, dry, hot desert air from the Rockies and the Great Plains. These air masses collide directly over the central United States, in states like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, forming the infamous region we call Tornado Alley. No other continent has such an open landscape where tropical and polar air can meet so easily. Europe's mountain ranges block it. Asia's terrain disperses it. But America's geography, wide plains, few natural barriers, and a straight north-south corridor creates the perfect conditions for rotating supercell storms. 2. The role of the Gulf of Mexico tornadoes feed on instability, warm, moist air rising into cooler layers above. And the Gulf of Mexico is the ultimate fuel source. Every spring, as the land heats up, moisture-laden air from the Gulf surges northward into the plains. That moisture provides the energy thunderstorms need to grow tall and powerful. This Gulf feed of humidity combines with cooler air coming down from Canada and drier air spilling off the Rocky Mountains. The result? A collision zone of temperature and pressure extremes, a breeding ground for violent weather. If the Gulf of Mexico didn't exist, the US would have far fewer tornadoes. That warm, wet air is the spark that powers the entire system. 3. The jet stream's perfect path high above the surface, another force shapes tornado formation, the jet stream. The jet stream is a fast-moving river of air that flows west to east across the continent, guiding weather systems along its path. During spring, it often dips down across the central US, bringing high winds and creating what meteorologists call wind shear, a difference in wind speed and direction at different altitudes. When warm, humid air rises into cooler, faster-moving air above, the atmosphere starts to rotate horizontally. Add a thunderstorm's updraft, and that rotation tips vertically, the first step toward forming a tornado. The jet stream, in other words, is the sculptor of the storm, giving it structure, motion, and the potential for rotation. 4. The role of the Rocky Mountains. Mountains usually block storms, but the Rockies do something special. As moist Gulf air moves north and hits the Rocky Mountains, it's forced upward, cooling and losing moisture as rain. When that air descends on the other side, over the Great Plains, it becomes dry and warm, forming what's known as a dry line, a boundary between moist and dry air. This dry line is crucial. It's the trigger zone for many of America's most violent storms. When that dry air meets warm, humid Gulf air, thunderstorms can explode into existence, often turning into supercells, the massive rotating storms that produce the most destructive tornadoes. The Rockies, therefore, don't just shape the land, they shape the atmosphere. 5. The flatness of the plains. Once those storms form, they need room to grow, and the US has plenty of it. From Texas to North Dakota stretches one of the largest expanses of flatland on Earth. This allows thunderstorms to develop and travel hundreds of miles without interruption. Flat terrain also means fewer obstacles to airflow, so winds can maintain the speed and direction changes needed for tornado formation. It's no coincidence that Tornado Alley sits right in this open corridor. The land itself invites the storm to form, rotate, and persist. 6. The season of chaos. Springtime spring is America's tornado season, and for good reason. During this period, the atmosphere is in flux. The ground is warming rapidly, the Gulf is pumping out moisture, and Arctic air masses are still pushing south. That clash produces extreme instability. But the exact timing shifts by region. Southern states like Texas see activity as early as March, while northern plains states peak in June or July. This long staggered season ensures that tornadoes can form somewhere in the US for almost half the year. 7. Tornado Alley and its expanding borders. Traditionally, Tornado Alley meant the Central Plains, but recent data shows the danger zone is shifting east. Today, places like Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky are seeing more tornadoes than ever before. Meteorologists now refer to this new hotspot as Dixie Alley. Unlike the open plains, Dixie Alley has forests, hills, and denser populations, making tornadoes harder to see and deadlier when they strike. In short, Tornado Alley isn't disappearing, it's moving. 8. Nighttime tornadoes, a deadly distinction. Another factor that makes U.S. tornadoes particularly dangerous is timing. In many regions, especially the South, tornadoes often strike at night, when people are asleep and warnings go unheard. That's one reason fatalities are often higher in the southeastern U.S. than in the plains, even though the storms may be weaker. America's vast geography means different regions face different tornado personalities. From broad daylight twisters over Kansas farms to nighttime monsters tearing through southern suburbs. 9. Population and detection. The US doesn't just have a lot of tornadoes, it also finds more of them. Thanks to radar technology, storm spotters, and satellite systems, the US has the most advanced tornado detection network in the world. That means we document nearly every touchdown. Other countries, especially those with rural areas or weaker monitoring systems, may have tornadoes that go completely unrecorded. So while America truly leads the world in tornado activity, part of that dominance comes from how good it is at spotting them. 10. The human element. Building in the danger zone. The US has also built directly into tornado country. Major cities like Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Kansas City sit right in the heart of Tornado Alley. Suburban sprawl, mobile homes, and wide-open neighborhoods increase exposure to storms. And while modern forecasting has improved survival rates, the sheer number of people living in tornado-prone regions means that every year the stakes grow higher. America's tornado problem isn't just meteorological, it's human. 11. The rest of the world. To understand just how unique the US is, let's compare. Canada ranks second in annual tornado counts, but it averages around 80 per year. The UK has the highest density of small tornadoes for its size, but they're weak. Australia, Argentina, Bangladesh, and parts of South Africa also see some twisters, but nothing like the scale or intensity of America's outbreaks. Only the central US combines the right ingredients, at the right time on such a vast scale. 12. The science of supremacy. Put simply, the US is a natural laboratory for tornadoes. It has every ingredient. Warm Gulf moisture, cold northern air, dry western winds, powerful jet streams, flat terrain for storm growth. It's not luck, and it's not coincidence. It's geography and physics. Other regions may see tornadoes, but only the United States has the recipe perfected. The price of location. There is a recurring drama that takes place every spring. The sirens, the storms, and the aftermath. Despite the fact that scientists are better able to forecast them than ever before, they are unable to stop them. It is the vast plains, the warm Gulf of Mexico, and the mountain ranges that make the geography of the United States so rich and diversified. However, these same elements also make the country particularly vulnerable. It is important to keep in mind that the next time you see images of a tornado tearing over the Midwest, it is not a random occurrence. The environment, geography, and climate of an entire nation are all working together to create a deadly symphony on the national level. Because of this, the United States of America will forever be known as the tornado capital of the globe. Climate change and the shifting tornado future. In recent years, scientists have been studying how climate change could reshape tornado patterns, not necessarily increasing the total number, but changing where and when they occur. Warmer global temperatures mean the atmosphere can hold more moisture, increasing the potential energy for severe storms. Meanwhile, shifts in the jet stream and seasonal temperature gradients could alter the timing of outbreaks. Some research suggests that tornado activity is gradually moving eastward, away from the traditional Great Plains and toward the Midwest and the Southeast, into areas with larger populations and more vulnerable housing.